Hey, happy Friday. Welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden. Glad to be back with the last episode of the week. And I got a great guest waiting in the wings, so I'm not going to keep her much longer, but let's get it. All right. Once again, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal Podcast. It's Friday, July 11th, 7/11. Welcome, and I say welcome back. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden, and you can get the podcast on all the platforms, all the podcast platforms, whether it's Spotify, Apple, YouTube, PS3 Network, PS3TVLive.com, and we're also on Spreaker, Roku channel, BS3 Network, Roku channel. Download the app. You can get all the podcasts on the network, BS3 Network on the Roku channel. And you can follow me on all the social media platforms, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, and TikTok. So anytime if you just type in The Real Deal with Courtney Harden, you can find all the content on all the social media and podcast platforms. All right. Well, I got an incredible guest, incredible woman who does a little bit of everything. I'm just going to read her bio from Instagram: woman in sports, beauty, and lifestyle, founder and creator and host of the podcast Her Winning Ways. I suggest you check that out as well. I want to welcome to the show Taylor Washington. Welcome to the show. Really appreciate it.
Hi, Courtney. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. It's kind of uncomfortable in the sense I'm usually the one on the other side hosting right, and bringing on a guest. So excited to be on this side and be a guest. So looking forward to the conversation.
Me too. I'm looking forward to it too. I'm glad that I've found your podcast and your page on Instagram, and I'm always looking and listening and watching a lot of different podcasts, and somehow the social media algorithm comes up. That's how it goes, just in general social media, but Instagram and yours popped up, your page popped up, and I like the content you did. So thank you for I reached out, emailed, and here we are. We made it work. So made it happen. So again, thank you for doing this, for the opportunity as well.
Of course. Yeah. Excited to be here. It's so funny how Instagram can just bring you across a bunch of different pages that you never even knew of.
Right.
I just started this a little over a year ago. So the fact that it's reaching, my target audience, that's definitely a plus. So I appreciate that. And I'm very, very excited to obviously speak, but love what you're doing with your podcast as well. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you. I appreciate that. And like I said, it's a great way to network on social media. And like I said, I don't know how the algorithms goes, but it just maybe it's people that you're connected with or I'm connected with, and it just somehow they say, oh, it's just somebody you might know and everything too. So, but I'm always, like I said, I'm always watching and listening to a lot of different podcasts, and I really enjoy your podcast and what you do. So we'll get into all that. So, all right, well, let's get started. So first question I always ask my first time guest: who is Taylor Washington, and how did you get into content creating, sports, your love of sports and podcasting? But first, who is Taylor Washington?
Wow. That is a question.
Always started with that one. So
yeah, Taylor is a go-getter. Taylor is someone who will dip her toe in a little bit of everything. And she's always been that way, always had that friendly, bubbly personality, and has always found an interest in sports. My parents were really involved in sports growing up as kids, and got my sister and I into it at a very young age. And it really shaped me into who I am today, with just being a freshman on varsity for volleyball and basketball, and having to really just kind of grow quicker than others and become that leader and being that helper. And I think that's something that Taylor definitely is a selfless human being, always wanting to help someone and care for someone and do it a little bit more than for her own self at times.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's really how she is. And I think sports, like I said, shaped myself into that too. And so I played basketball, volleyball year round, all the way up until college. I went to Michigan State University where I majored in marketing and minored in sports business management. And seeing my mom work in athletics, college athletics for 30 years, I loved, being a part, going as a kid, helping her file papers or helping her set up for different events and sports games. And I just love the environment within itself, how a community comes together for, one common goal, to cheer on a team, and everyone's happy and excited and the energy is so high. And with that, I knew I want to be whatever this is. And, I was such a young kid at the time, so I didn't really know what exactly it was. But as I went through with high school and then I went through with college, I realized I wanted to get involved in sports somehow. Unfortunately, the pandemic occurred when I graduated. So a lot of what I thought I wanted to do went out the window. But I think, honestly, that was kind of like a blessing in disguise because I went the God way instead of the way Taylor thought that she wanted to do. And I'm a true believer in that. And I now work within like the media advertising business and still within the sports business as well. And I will 100% know that this is exactly where I should have been versus what I thought, which I didn't even have an exact idea. And I love the industry that I'm in today. I mean, with commercials and with streaming and how, with sports in general, how all of that is changing. Every day is not the same. And I love that. And so when we get to the podcast side of things, it honestly came from my therapist. We were just kind of like going through my routine and what I could do that I won't be like doom scrolling so much. And she came up with the idea of podcasting. She's like, why don't you listen to some podcasts, like some self-care podcasts or just like some sports podcasts that you can listen to while you're walking to work or go at the gym. And it never occurred to me anything about podcasts. I did not realize how many of them there were. I love the idea of just listening to like a friend in a sense, like a motivating friend or a friend that I can go to get the inside scoop on something. And every time I would listen to one, I would just say, I could do this or I could do something like this. And so that's when I decided to launch Her Winning Ways. And it's a female interview-based podcast combining sports, entertainment, and self-care. And the first season was really just utilizing my network of individuals and just using people that I've already built relationships with because they all had amazing stories and have amazing stories to tell. And as of recently, back in March, we launched season 2. And that's when I got a little bit outside of my network and just really like reaching out to different women that have those inspiring stories or currently work in an industry or in a field, where there's a specific topic that maybe, someone needs to know about, whether it's resumes or LinkedIn or whatever the case may be, getting internships. So I just truly found a passion in it. Like I said, back to being selfless and wanting to help others. I've realized that this is my lane and this is exactly where God wants me to be.
I love that. I love that part, that part right there where God wants you to be. And you throughout your journey and just hearing it, it's everyone has a different journey. Everyone has a different story of how they got to where they're going or how they got to where they are today. And like you said, the pandemic, it is one of those things where we did not want to, nobody wanted to be in no pandemic, not at all. But it did make us kind of, okay, let's slow down. And like you said, that was God saying, okay, slow down. Let's see, let's take a pause and kind of reroute a lot of things. And I think just listening to a lot of different people and even for myself, just being able to kind of sit back and kind of evaluate self-evaluate your life and where you are. And God's like, okay, this is your path now. And he said, and you listened. You said, okay,
Yeah.
this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm gonna do. And I'm a firm believer in that too, firm believer in God and everything too. And it did slow a lot of us down. I mean, we had no choice with
Right.
that. I mean, it had to take a global pandemic, but it did happen. And but you talk about the journey, as you said. Your mom worked in athletic, and she was like the athletic director. You said for 30 years, 30
She
plus
was the
years.
executive assistant to the athletic director.
Okay.
So for 30 years, yes.
Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
So that would, and like you said, you just saw how your mom hardworking, and you're like, okay, this is something I've been around it for so long, and then now it looks like that was your passion, your path to get to where you are. Would you say that was like one of the driving forces of, okay, this is where I probably need to be, or where I want to be?
Absolutely. I think
Hmm.
so. I think that, and also just with playing sports,
Yeah.
I
Right.
also just a big sports fan and watching it too. And I will always see, different women sports reporters, the Lisa Salters, the Doris Burks, all of them just like speaking the game and knowing the game. And I've loved to see women in those spaces because they're breaking the barriers.
Right.
And I've always felt like that's something that I wanted to do, was to prove people wrong in this particular space, because at one point it was very male dominated. Nowadays we're seeing a lot of changes with that.
Mm.
So I think just seeing my mom in a space like that, where unfortunately you don't see many, women of color in those
Right.
type of spaces,
Yeah.
really motivated me to be in this industry.
Yeah, I love seeing that too. Just women of color in those spaces, and dominating in those spaces.
Mhm.
Like, and I love to see like yourself, just and even in the podcast space,
Yeah.
putting having your lane in this space too, and having those conversations as well. As you talked about the podcast
Mhm.
and how it came about, with your therapist, and but I find that very interesting too. And
Yeah.
you've had a lot of incredible women, interviewing them as well. And you touched on, you said lifestyle, sports, and in that way too. Would you say, for your level of lifestyle too? Because I see your fashion and lifestyle too,
Yeah.
that be popping as well. But for real, yeah. And but you did in that lane. What would you say is like, for your with your podcast? What would you want people to get out of that podcast when they listen to it, out of your podcast?
Inspiration,
Hmm.
motivation, encouragement, community. I think
Hmm.
those are the big four things. I create content online on my TikTok about what I have learned in this industry. And it's funny because I feel like my TikTok content and my Instagram content are very different. And as
Okay.
you bring up earlier too, I think the pandemic also created these other interests of modeling and content
Hmm.
because we were at a world, a state of the unknown. So
Right.
it's funny when you see that content, you see TikTok, and it's like you're talking about all this sports. Like, I think that just goes back to Taylor wanting to dip her toe in a bunch of different things.
Mm.
And I don't regret it whatsoever, because it's made me a versatile person and a
Yeah.
person in knowledge in a different buckets. But when people listen to the podcast, I want them to know that from my content, I don't have all the answers. I never will. But let's interview women that are, experts in their day to day
Mm.
and have
Mm.
that knowledge. And so if you want to learn more about, LinkedIn and the power of LinkedIn and how can I find jobs on LinkedIn, I
Right.
have an episode for that. Let me go to Her Winning Ways and listen to this episode and get that knowledge, but also
Right.
that inspiration too, to know that all of these women are doing this. I can do this too. And I think when I, graduated at one point, I didn't know really what I wanted to do. And I didn't really have, all the necessary resources. Of course, I have my family that could encourage me and help point me in the right direction. But to have a mentor, to have someone that you can go to in this space that you are interested in, is powerful and is needed in today's
Right.
world. So at the end of every episode, I always ask each woman, what are, your social platforms that you're most comfortable with letting people know if they want to reach out to you? So that way, people that are listening, if they want to have, another conversation with this individual, if they want to dive a bit deeper, or if they want to meet up in person, they're in the same city, same state.
Right.
They have the ability to do that. I want to be able to help the next person. And that's the goal that I get out of this. I don't care about the money or anything of that. So I'm not even going to pay for this, none of that.
Yeah.
But if someone can listen to my podcast, find that inspiration, find that knowledge, be encouraged, and even connect with one of the speakers, that makes my day.
I love that, and I've listened to a lot of it, and I'm just going through some of the guests you've had. Lisa Byington, you've had that was an incredible podcast episode as well. You've had quite a bit of people on here. What would you say? I know it's hard to probably pick one of your favorite episodes, but was there an episode that was inspiring? So they all were, but was there like a particular one that was inspiring, more inspiring, or that their story was inspiring to you in your personal opinion?
That's so hard. I think all of them, not even think, all of them are my favorite because at the end of the day, I never saw myself doing something like this. I used to be very shy, very timid, not holding conversations with people. And the fact that I am doing that on a consistent basis, even outside of, my 9 to 5, is mind blowing. I'm doing something like this.
Yeah.
But I will say, and I'll give a little spoiler, all of them are my favorite, but I am doing one I'm releasing soon that I'm interviewing someone from out of the country. And I happen to connect with them over social media. And I wouldn't say that's my favorite because all of them are my favorite, but that one is so special because it's like I'm having a conversation with someone that does not even live in the United States. And the topic that we are discussing is something that I often struggle with, which is public speaking. And I think that that's something that everybody can learn from.
Yeah.
It's not exactly sports entertainment specific, but it's daily life specific. Within any role, any industry, any field, you're going to have to know how to communicate with somebody, how to get over that fear of, presentations or speaking with, high level individuals. And so, not to give too big of a spoiler.
Yeah, don't give too much. Yeah, don't give too much. You want to give just a little, but don't give too much. Especially you got something.
Yes, that one I'm excited for everyone to hear. But like you said, I think like the Lisa Byington one was special. All of my season 1 was special. Just to be able to do something like this and have a platform, it's truly a blessing. It is.
Yeah. I mean, you had Natalie Kerwin. I mean, I could go on. The list could go on and on and on. But no, you had a lot of incredible women on the podcast. So everyone to check it out as well. It's on all the podcast platforms.
Yes.
So you can follow Her Winning Ways on Instagram as well. Like you said, you have someone that's going to be out of the country. Is there anyone and it could be from entertainment, sports, anyone that you would love? I'm sure there's a list, but you could pick a couple of people in the industry, media, sports, entertainment. You could pick 2 or 3 that you would love to have on the podcast. Who would it be?
Wow. Jamel Hill is always one that comes to mind. She's a Spartan as well, so go green.
Yes.
I will also say Taylor Rooks. I love Taylor Rooks. And I feel like just her journey and how she's just like climbed the rankings is crazy. I would love to, I know that's 2 already. So
we'll do 5. Let's do 5 then, so you can
5.
Yeah, if you could get to 5. If not, we'll do 3. Jamel and Taylor Rooks, perfect. Those are great.
Man. Okay. If I could interview, I would love to do Doris. I love Doris.
The GOAT.
The GOAT in so many ways. I would love to interview Caitlin Clark too. Like I would love to interview her as well. Yeah. We could talk about a whole lot of things with that.
A whole lot, right?
Being, a basketball player, but also off the court. Man. And then I would say my last two would be Dawn Staley, but also Maria Taylor. I would love to
Okay.
interview. Those would be my
That would
one.
be like the
Yeah.
dream team of. I mean, I like. I mean, I would love to interview all of them too, for sure. Maria Taylor and Jamel Hill,
Yeah.
Doris Burke, Taylor Rooks, especially Taylor Rooks.
Mhm.
And you're right, and all of those women are incredible, and what they do, the
Mhm.
storytelling and everything too. And Taylor Rooks, especially, the way she interviews. I think she's one of the best
Mhm.
interviewers um, I've ever listened to, I've ever seen, and
Mhm.
and I know she takes pride in it. She talked about that before,
Yeah.
and just taking the time with the questions. And I've always listened. I try to, not emulate that, but
Mhm.
kind of like with the questions of, framing them and everything too. I would just love to like just pick a brain on that. I know she's talked about it on other podcasts, but she's incredible. She's one of the best interviewers. I definitely can see that for sure. But yeah, no, that's a great lineup for real. That is a very good lineup. All right, well let's move forward. I wanted to ask you about you said lifestyle, fashion, you done modeling.
Mhm.
Talk a little bit about that and the modeling and the fashion. How would you define your fashion and in that front?
Ooh, it's changed over the years. I feel like as I've gotten older, now I'm entering like my late 20s. I feel like I've gotten to a point where I'm like this professional chic. I don't know how to
Mm.
really
Yeah,
explain
all
that.
right, okay,
It's
all
more
right,
like I could do like business casual, but make it a little chic where it's still like I'm not going to work every day, but I'm
right.
still like dressed nice and a little fancy, maybe add a little pop of heel.
Hmm.
But since I've been a little girl, have always to the point where I'm matching my pajamas when I'm going to bed. I'm matching my socks. I can remember wanting to
Right.
wear nice dresses when the summer hits and the nice sandals. My hair always had to be done. I've always been this way.
Okay.
Um, and I think the modeling portion. So when I was younger, I was actually signed to a modeling agency, like very
Mm,
younger. I would say probably like fourth or fifth grade, or maybe third, fourth grade
right.
here in Chicago, and had like one gig. And then I got involved in sports, and that took off. And so I've always loved taking photos and getting dressed up and dolled up for that. That was always just a way of me kind of just expressing myself, I guess. And so
Yeah.
when the pandemic hit, that was another dipping of the toe that I did,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
and took it a step further. When I moved here to Chicago, I connected with pretty big photographers and was setting
Mm,
up photo shoots and creating a portfolio and submitting my photos to agencies. And again, it was a way of me just to be able to express myself and show my personality in a lot of these different type of ways, whether
yeah.
it was, let's just do a nice plain outfit with bare makeup, or I did one shoot where I'm bring butterflies on my face, and
Mm,
just kind of getting more in depth in that way. And I think it was also a way of just learning how to love myself too. I think during the pandemic, living by myself for the very first time, and, new to a city and all of these different things, I
yeah.
was just learning so much at a young age. And so that was kind of like my outlet in order to, grow and love myself. So I've always loved it. I've
Mhm.
always
Yeah.
loved the clothing and the makeup and all of that. And so I just started to post consistently online. I mean, like every other day, I was posting content, and I need to get back to doing that.
Yeah.
Um, and from there, I started creating videos with different brands of different products that I had at home. And I
Mm,
started getting emails from it. I started getting, I mean, brands like Freeman Beauty, a skincare line I've been using since college. And I remember they had reached out and wanting to do a partnership for their Christmas line.
yeah.
And all of that was very new to me. I mean, I was just doing it just because I love the brand and it's helped my skin. Come to find out, people are getting paid for doing this. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, let's see if what can happen from it. So I started doing it. I was able to work with them. I've been able to work with like Black Girl Sunscreen. That's one of my favorite brands that's in
Yeah.
my skincare regimen. I've been able to work with HelloFresh on a consistent basis,
Mm,
and creating videos based off their different recipes. Never knew that something like this would fall into my lap in a sense, because I was doing it just to do it at one point. And then turns out I was able to get monetized for it. So I haven't done it in some time, like I should be continuing to do it, but it's amazing. It's amazing how brands can find you based off of you literally just posting a photo, and they can find your email, and then they can reach out to you. And so that's literally how it's happened. And some partnerships have been gifted, some have been paid, but I'm grateful for both of them.
Right.
And it just goes to show how powerful social media is right now, and how it's even going to be in the years to come.
Yeah, that would be like my next question. Like you said, you are in media advertising and the social media and in general. And I know what we were talking before we started recording, you said you've been concentrating more on the podcast side of that, but you said you said you do content creation. My question would be like, what's like some of the, not the challenges per se, but like just to have a success, what do you think to have a successful content creating, a podcast or social media page, branding, marketing, it all goes hand in hand. What would you say would be like some of the, like to have a successful social media presence?
To have a successful social media presence, I think, and this is just my personal opinion, is to not feed into social media. And what I mean by that is, you can quickly be envious of other people, or like comparing yourself to others because, you're doing the same thing they're doing and vice versa, but they're getting all of this reach and you're only getting, a little piece of reach, or you maybe not have the same amount of followers. You have to also understand that you are in your own lane, and the lane that you are supposed to be in. And that's something that I say that now, but I have definitely battled with it. So that's what I mean by that, is to do the social media, but not let the social media affect you. Because people also online too are thinking, they have the answers, right? Like some people have answers that have worked for them. Some people have answers that's worked for them. But it's all very different on how you portray yourself online. But don't get me wrong, a lot of people on social media very well do help you increase your following. But I think just being true to yourself and knowing your why is very important. Know your why. Why did you want to do this? Why did you want to create this? What are you hoping to get out of it? Like, what are your goals? And sticking to that will be extremely helpful to reach that success, because you're going to have a lot of people tell you no. You're going to have a lot of people that are going to doubt your content, or think it's not good enough, or it needs to be here. But I think just going back to your why is extremely important. And also to know that it does not happen overnight. And I've also battled with this too. Like, oh my gosh, why do I have this amount of followers? And I've only been doing it for X amount of time. Success is going to come as long as you're consistent with it. So that's another big thing too, is that you have to be consistent with it. Being consistent, constantly posting, being authentic, knowing your why, that's what's going to lead you to your success. Because if you are trying to do what everybody else is doing, right, like that success is probably only going to be overnight because a video went viral. But I don't have the biggest following, and I'm okay with that. Like, my following has grown over the years, but it's a community that I have created. So I know that the people that are following me follow me based off of the content that I am posting, not just because of a video that happened to go viral for 1 or 2 days.
That's very well said. And you're right. I think being authentic is very important. And I think that's, you're authentic to yourself. And people will see it, and people will say, okay, Taylor's real. We could tell, we could say that she's real. And then you said the community itself knows that. And right, you're right. I think a lot of times we compare it, and it's natural. We could kind of compare with, this person's doing the same thing I'm doing. How did they advance more than what I'm doing, and things like that. I agree with that. I think that we do compare, and it's just natural. But it said it's not going to happen overnight. If you continue to be consistent, everything you see on social media is not real, and it's not real. A lot of times, some people do things on social media that's they just to get those viral clicks and those that viral that overnight success, I guess you want to say.
Mhm.
But you could tell when there's certain things, content that is real, and
Yes.
you're able to say okay. But again, you said you're doing your own thing, you're doing your own lane, and you're networking with the community that you want to that you network with, and that you're putting out the content for, and that's good too. Because like I said, I don't have a huge following either. I've been doing this for years, but it's more of the passion that I have to do this. And yeah, I want to monetize, of course, but it's more of just continue to put out the consistent content and having the great guests, things like that, and telling their story and just having a platform for them to tell their story. That makes me excited to keep doing this too. So I agree.
Absolutely. Yes.
100%. Just got one more, and I'll let you go because, like I said, I know you got a couple of things you got to do, and everything. But I get to talk to you for a long time. I hope we could do this again at
Yeah.
another time as well. But wanted to ask you. You talked about uh, public speaking and struggling with that, which I know a lot of people have trouble with that. I know with that red light comes on and you that record, you're like okay. But
Hmm.
you said. Uh, Talking about getting better at that and just in general and talking about that, just in having that space to talk about that. What do you think of? What would you say if somebody wanted advice to help with public speaking or to do a podcast or to anything like that or get in front of the camera? What would you say to someone that asks for advice to do what we do that we like to do?
Yeah, I would say a few things. The first is be okay with knowing that this is different. Like
Yeah,
it's different to just
yeah,
record yourself and post it to the world. Like that's different. That's,
right.
some people don't have the personalities for that. I once did not have the personality for that.
Mhm.
Another thing too, I never forget when my high school teachers told me, be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yep, I've heard that too.
People don't like that phrase. I'm just
Mhm.
someone that has always used that phrase and always remember that phrase. Because for me, in certain situations, being uncomfortable helps you grow. And so
Yeah.
for me, going all the way back to when I was in sports, I was very uncomfortable with telling the team, okay, come on, y'all, let's go stretch, or come on, y'all, let's go
Yeah.
do layup lines, or come on, let's do hitting lines. But that helped me to get comfortable. So I think at times you have to put yourself in situations where you can get reps using that muscle. It's
Yeah.
not something that's going to happen overnight. I still get nervous when they're like, Taylor, you got to present this slide at work. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
God. It happens on Friday, and I'm nervous last Friday. Like it's normal to have the butterflies and to be nervous about it,
Right.
but I think you have to also start to kind of push yourself. If it's a goal that you have to start pushing yourself and putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations to
Mm.
start utilizing that muscle. And once you do that, you'll start to realize how more and more comfortable you are starting to get with it. So for me, with the podcast for the first season, I was interviewing people that I already knew. And I think for me, that helped because I already established a relationship with them. So it's
Yeah.
easier for me to get on camera and talk to them. I think as I got into season 2, it started to get a little more trickier because now I'm,
Mm.
interviewing people that I'm just meeting. And, we
Yeah.
obviously have a conversation beforehand. But I think just as much as you can use that muscle, but also practice too. There's so many different courses or in-person classes in ways that you can work on it
Yeah.
because it is in fact a skill. I'm not the best at it, but I've been working on it and continuously working on it. And also ask for feedback as well. So when you do have different meetings with individuals or you're having times where you have to speak in front of people, ask them, hey, how did
Yeah.
I do? What can I work on? How can I get better at this? I think the more you're willing to reach out and ask for the feedback and work on it and grow, that's how you are going to get better at it.
Yep.
As far as just posting online, I think all of it really ties together. I think if you can practice the public speaking and get the reps in, you will soon be more and more comfortable with it. But it's not something that happens overnight. I've been doing this for not even a long time, but just the point of speaking in front of people. I've been doing it for a while, and I still get those butterfly jitters. Some of it is also confidence, right? Like you have to believe in yourself. You have to know, like, I'm built for this. Like, that's something my dad tells me all the time. Like, you're built for this, you know? And you're put in these certain positions for a reason. So if you have that feeling of wanting to do something on camera, or at work, they're telling you, hey, we want you to present this, it's because people are seeing something in you. Or you're seeing something in yourself too. So I think having that confidence, saying those affirmations to yourself every day, or like right before you're about to speak, will definitely boost your confidence and make you more comfortable in these situations. And at least it's what's helped me. So
yeah, that's great advice. You're right. I think the reps, and I say that all the time too. So I agree 100% that the more reps you do, because some people always ask, how do you start a podcast? I don't know. I'm not comfortable in the camera. I'm like, you can do one right off your cell phone. Like they just go on, and you said practice and just 5 minutes and just start talking right to the camera, right to your phone. And then the more you get comfortable, you said confidence. I love that. The more you're built for this, and that's a good way to get better, and to and just you said, get that advice and get the feedback from people you trust, and others might say, hey, I enjoy what you said. Maybe say it like this or something like that, and not get personal with it either, or be upset about it. So but you said you're built for this confidence, and just continue the reps. I'm using that too. So for sure. But I know I really enjoyed that that you said that as well. But Taylor, this has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the conversation, and just to get to know you a little bit, and what you're doing. Like I said, I enjoy the podcast for sure, and I'm being real about that. I really do enjoy that podcast, and I got to listen to some more, because like I said, you got season 2. I've been like bouncing off and just listening to certain ones and everything too. But I'm gonna continue to keep listening and support that podcast, to support your podcast as well. So, but let everyone know they can follow you on social media, the podcast, what you got coming up, what you can announce, what you got coming up, and like I said, if somebody want to reach out to you as well.
Yes, so we do have a new episode of Her Winning Wayz dropping on Monday, July 14th. We will be meeting with Rachel Parrish. Super excited. I won't give you too much about her, because I wanted obviously people to tune in and listen. But definitely from a sports background, has her own business. So super excited to connect with her. She's also a native in Chicago too. But definitely follow the Her Winning Wayz podcast. We are Her Winning Wayz, ending with a Z and not a S. We are across Instagram. We are on TikTok, and we are also on LinkedIn. Anywhere you get your podcast, we are on as well. And then me personally, my Instagram and TikTok is at Taylor with 2 R's, J_. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm always willing to connect with individuals, and whether it's, over message, or if it's in person or on something like this, more than happy to help out in any way that I can.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. Like I said, I appreciated the time, appreciate the conversation. I really enjoyed it. And hopefully, like I said, we'll do this again. And you're part of you're in the podcast space with me. So we're podcast family. I always say, when you come on The Real Deal more than once, you're part of the Real Deal podcast family, but you're a podcast, so you're part of the family as well. But no, I really appreciate it. And thank you again. And hopefully we'll do this again. And, you have enjoy the weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Courtney. I really appreciate this. Thank you so much again for reaching out. I feel very, very grateful for this opportunity. So appreciate it. We're in the podcast family now. So thank you so much.
All right. You're welcome. Very welcome. And the door's open anytime. So the invite's open. So you're, like I said, you can come in and kick your feet up, and we'll chat. So, but I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks again, and enjoy the weekend.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
All right. You too. Thank you. You have a good one.
Bye.